สวัสดีครับคุณโจนาธาน Hi
สวัสดี
Yeah. Nice to see you here again in Thailand. Thank you so much for coming to Thailand again.
It's great to be back. Yeah.
Okay. นี่นะครับก็คือผมอยู่กับคุณโจนาธาน Kreisberg นะครับสุดยอดมือกีตาร์นะครับ You so excellent guitar player in this world. Okay.
Thanks.
Today I will talk about your composition. You're playing guitar again. Let's go for the first question.I have some chance to listen to album you and Nelson Velas. This album is very excellent sound and really excellent playing. How did you prepare yourself and do you have the way to record this album because the sound is so excellent?
Thanks. Yeah, it was. We just tried to capture the way we would sound on a gig. You know, we recorded. I used my normal setup, which is 2 amps, you know, and I had an SM57 on both, and then I put a condenser on the strings just to get a little more if someone was sitting in front of us listening, you know. And with Nelson, we just used 2 condensers on the acoustic.
Just 2 condensers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of captures the most realistic sound, like someone sitting in front of us, you know.
How about this project is how it start?
You know, Nelson and I, we knew about each other for years because when we were both, you know, 2 of the young kind of up and coming guys. So someone played me a tape of him, I think, you know, years before we ever met, cassette, like, oh, you got to hear this guy Nelson. And I said, wow, who is this guy? Amazing, you know. Once I was on tour in France and I had a day off in Paris and I said, let me go see if Nelson's playing, and he was playing somewhere. So I went to see his gig and we started talking and we got along right away, you know. So we said, let's get together and play, you know, and pretty much the first time we played was already sounded the way it sounds when we play, you know. There was even though some of his music is more on the avant-garde side, some of mine is, I don't know, more on the New York modern jazz side or whatever, but somehow we kind of meet, and it was always this playful spirit, you know, that we shared, you know, just like I share with Lonnie Smith, you know. That seems to be the thing that somehow I really like, you know, players that have this kind of playful, mischievous spirit, you know, and Nelson definitely has that. Yeah, it was great. We did a gig with almost no rehearsal, and it was great. I recorded it on my, you know, a little mini disc or something like that, and I would listen to it and say, oh, this is great, we have to do that. We would always say, we got to do something more serious. So finally, 5 years later or something, we did it, you know.
So, you know, Nelson, he's so phenomenal guys to play guitar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nelson's one of a kind, totally unique. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have the way to balance your sound and Nelson's because it's really different tone?
Yeah. You know, live it can be difficult sometimes because it's hard to get a nylon string acoustic to be loud enough. So that's the biggest challenge with Nelson. And because Nelson also doesn't play very hard, he plays kind of light. Yeah. So it's always difficult, you know, because I like to play louder. So, you know, we try and find a way to get him in the monitors, and he uses usually an amp as well. Yeah, it's a challenge, but I think it works out.
How many times you rehearse with Nelson before you record this album?
Oh no. Not too much. Yeah. We never really rehearsed too much, you know. Maybe before the album we had a rehearsal, maybe 1 rehearsal, you know. But like I said, it sounded good. Like the original time we played together, it sounded good right away anyways, you know. There's some bootlegs of the first gig we did. We played Inner Urge and Windows, which is on the album. Yeah. It sounded great already, you know. It was just some way we played that worked well together, you know. So even the album, there's not a lot of arranging. Maybe the most arranged thing is our version of Milton Nascimento, you know, Miracle of the Fishes, you know. That's probably the most arranged thing on the record. Everything else is more like we just played it, you know.
It's really amazing, the better from the sound and the sound from the Nelson's.
Yeah, well, it's complementary, you know. They're very different sounds. Yeah.
I am so wonder about in this album you also use the light Latin groove. Maybe some Latin groove for.
Well, Nelson's Brazilian, you know. So it's in his blood, you know. Yeah. And I love Brazilian music too.
Yeah.
So
it's really hard because it's really pushed.
Yeah, for sure.
It's easy for the out of the time, out of the rhythm, because it will really push.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, Nelson has a great time feel, you know.
Please talk about the song Until You Know. is your songs.
Yeah.
How you rearrange for this album?
We didn't. We just played it. Yeah. No, that was all just the way it happened, you know. We didn't talk, oh, let's you do this, you do this. Not really, just played it, you know.
So another thing I also wonder about this album, how many takes you feel okay, we got it? How many
Depends on the song, depends on what song, you know. I don't really remember. You know, I have another album after that. Capturing Spirits is more recent. This is the album with Nelson. It's already like 6 years ago, you know. So I don't remember how many takes we did. Usually, I don't think we did too many. Maybe 2 or 3 or something like that. Some of them, like Baya, I think we just did 1 take and that it was good, you know. Some of them was more take until you know maybe there was a couple. It's hard to remember, you know. I mean, Lena Rising, there's only 1 because that was the video. I mean, that's the one we filmed.
Really amazing song.
We filmed the video of that one. The video guys came. That was the first song of the session. I didn't want to spend to pay for the whole day, so I had the guy come and do the first song.
It's really hard.
And then he left. So I think it was I think there was only 1 take of that one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. You mentioned about Capturing Spirit, JKQ Live.
Yeah.
It's really amazing sound.
Thank you. That was right before the pandemic.
Yeah. How did you record this album? Because the sound seemed like you record this album in the studio. It's really clear.
Wow, thank you. Oh, that's a nice compliment. Yeah. No. The funny thing about that album, you know why it's called Capturing Spirits, was, you know, we had a crazy day. We were on tour and we were rushing around. The drummer left his wallet in the taxi. Like we were all like, oh, so tired, you know. Finally, we played the concert. We said, okay, let's survive, you know. And we played the gig. And after the gig, we said, oh man, this was a good gig. It was a good gig. Too bad we didn't record it, you know. And the sound man said, yeah, we did record it. It was in the contract, you know, but I didn't remember, you know.
Oh, okay.
So I said, whoa, great, you know. So for me, that's why I called it Capturing Spirits, because it captures the spirit, the live spirit. It's a live album, you know, and it doesn't sound self-conscious. It sounds like we were just, you know, and sometimes when you're on tour and you're tired and things are crazy, sometimes you play better because you don't have time to relax and think too much. And with jazz, sometimes it's about the flow. You don't want to think too much, you know. So yeah, in a way, you know, I knew it right then. When he told me that he recorded, I said, well, if the sound is good, this is the album, because we were supposed to go into the studio, but I decided to use the live thing
in Germany.
Yeah, that was the live gig in Germany. Yeah.
And how about the mixing in this album? What about the process?
I mixed it actually. Yeah. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I mean, I worked with great engineers. You know, I did. I just had a lot of input, that's all, because I know that there was a lot of difficulties. When you have a live thing, the biggest problem that I had was trying to get the bass out of the piano mic and the drum mics, you know. That was the thing that we kept working on, and I drove one of the engineers a little crazy about it because I really wanted to separate those sounds, you know. So you have to take out some frequencies from one of the instruments, you know. You have to take basically a lot of bass out of the piano frequency, out of the piano mics, you know, because if not, you have mostly bass, because the bass was right next to the piano and it through an amp, you know. So it was that was the big challenge.
Very good.
Thanks. Yeah, we mixed and remixed a couple times because it was challenging.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the lift, this song you count in 9/8.
That's right. Yep. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Maybe can you show me some how to count in these songs?
Well, that's like a style that I kind of came up with a name for myself. I like to call it Afro-Balkan because it's using very Balkan claves. Like
so you mean the Balkan?
The original clave is kind of a Balkan thing. Like it's 3-2-2-2 fast, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1, which is very Balkan style. In jazz, we have a lot of polyrhythms and African influence. So for me, I like that because you start to feel it in different, more relaxed ways, right? So when I first wrote it, I kind of sent out a key to all the guys, like everyone should think of it this way, and it's kind of like this. So you have this kind of polyrhythm of this. So there's 2 ways to hear it. If you stop one hand, You hear it one way. If you stop the other hand, you hear it the other way. Watch. So you have don eh on 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 eh. So that's 9/4. That's 3/4. That's 9/8.
Really
So
hard.
you have to feel them all. Yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be because the band, someone in the band may do one and someone else may do the other. And if you don't know the way they all work together, someone's going to fall down. But that's, to me, it just makes it even more closer to a jazz feel, even though it has these other things going on, And I'm very interested in creating new sounds. And to me, that's a new sound, something different,
Yes, it's a really new sound, as you say. And another thing I feel about you take the listener to the another dimension.
Oh, I love hearing that because all my favorite music does that. So when someone tells me that I succeeded in doing that, I'm honored because for me, that's what I grew up on. The music, whether it was Keith Jarrett or Miles with Wayne Shorter or Alan Holdsworth, all that does that. It's like you kind of get taken to another place. It's very difficult to do it and still retain a place, you know what I mean? Because I also love American music and the blues and I love jazz. So how do you do that but make it feel like another place? That's the challenge. It's almost like space age blues. You have to have it. I don't want it to be just sound like a spaceship always. And sometimes it has to have something. So I like to try and have the universe and the earth somehow mixing. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Okay, for the next, everything needs something. The song seems like a neo soul style,
Well, I mean, that's a perfect example. That song is exactly that. It's still spacey, but there's a lot of blues in that one. So
it seems like you mix the modern style of the neo and the modern style of the soul music.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I love the blues and gospel and a lot of, old school R&B and stuff, and that stuff, definitely informs that tune. That's where the feel comes from of that. Yeah.
But the special thing that I love really much, I love your playing in the nearly ending.
The ending.
Yeah.
The ending's when it goes to outer space.
Yeah.
For
It
sure.
seems like a free jazz, some stuff, and I'm not sure you use.
That's why I was glad. You could never do that in the studio. That ending was totally something that live. It had to be live,
It seems like you use it octave and delay and.
I have used all kinds of stuff. I don't move the things around on my pedalboard that much because I like it to feel organic. Like I just kind of know where it is with my foot, and if I hear a sound, I can kind of find it quickly. That's why I don't change so much my stuff,
It's really cool thing about your harmony and.
Thanks. I mean, also playing with a great band, those guys can hold down the rhythm and Martin really listens and knows how to work when I start changing the harmony and stuff. So that's important. The other players really important.
Okay, for the last 3 years ago, I just buy this book.
Nice.
And you send it, you sign it for me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
Thanks so much. Okay, I have some question about some song.
Okay.
It's really complicated.
Sure.
21.
Sure. Well, 21 is also kind of, like I said, what I would call Afro-Balkan. You know what I mean?
Again.
Yeah. That's a 21/8, which is a long clave, right? It's basically 3 5s and a 6.
You have 3/8. The group of 3 of 5/8 and 1 of 6/8.
Exactly. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5 6. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's the Balkan way. But then again, it's like the other one. It's 21 is divisible in 7, so it can also be right. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Right. It's multi-leveled. And to me, when you have the multi-levels, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when it creates more mystery and more depth. It's different.
When I listen to this song, I feel wow, this is a Dream Theater song or something progressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Although a lot of that stuff doesn't have the same polyrhythmic levels.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually one or the other. That's what in jazz we can have both at the same time. You know, and that's what I tried to embrace. And by the way, a lot of this stuff, I don't know if you know, but during the pandemic, I started Explorations of Note. Right, this is called Offerings of Note, the book, but Explorations of Note is my online membership program, and in there we have very deep explanations of all these concepts, you know, hundreds of hours of lessons and PDFs. It's like a book that's alive, you know.
How the audience can go to the
Just find it on my website.
Jonathan Kreisberg.
Yeah, and then Explorations of Note. It's become half of my life now. For me, performing is one half. The other half is explorations. It's a lot of work. It's really like I put a lot of heart into this, because for me, I'm getting older, and for me, the music is always important, but I also want the music to be great when I'm dead. When I'm gone and I go to another planet, I want there to be people making great music here, you know what I mean? And that's our jobs as ambassadors of the music, to keep people creating in the future.
Okay, for the solo part, for the 21, how did you deal with the time signature for the solo?
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's you have to feel both ways. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, some of the rhythms I'm playing are only possible if you feel the 7, and some of the rhythms are only possible if you feel the 21.
Okay, for the next question, we will talk about it. One album.
Yeah.
To play by yourself, only one.
Yeah.
It's really amazing sound. It's really amazing the process.
Thanks.
As we know, album that changed a lot of the guitar player life is Joe Pass with the soul.
Yeah.
This is a new sound for those times.
Yeah.
And you change everything again because in this
you.
one. So you know when we play, when the guitar player play chord and melody, they always play the chord melody for the block, and play stop, but you not.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's almost related to the stuff we were talking about with the odd times. It's multi-leveled, polyphonic. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Trying to kind of have one thing going when something else happens against it. Not always, but it's definitely a part of my sound, I think. In the workshop with the students, I was just talking about that a little bit, is feeling music. You know, there's a long tradition of counterpoint and multi-voices. So this block chord thinking is a little bit of a new idea. If you go back further, there's a lot of polyphonics. So for me, I like to explore that a lot, you know.
I'm so wonder about your tone. In this album, it seems like you have the two tone. The first tone is like a bass line. So you know, I'm not sure you use the pick for the bass line and hybrid picking.
That album was a very conscious decision. I didn't put the pick down. There was a bunch of times when I thought about it, because it would have maybe canto would have been easier maybe with this, but I decided, instead of putting the pick down, to keep the pick and to learn to use stronger my pinky. So I have these 3 fingers. Every once in a while, not very often, I'll do this, you know, and hide the pick and maybe one chord. If I want 5 notes, I have to do that. But on the album, not even too much. It's mostly hybrid, you know. And that's what creates the different sounds a lot of times, because if you have a bass note being played by a pick and a melody by the fingers, there sounds a little like 2 different instruments, you know. I did that sound for years, not realizing it was that different, and then people started asking questions about it, and I realized, that's kind of different. So I tried to take it further, you know, instead of, you know, putting it down. There's certain kinds of music. Maybe when I play some Brazilian music, I still will put the pick down, but very rarely. Almost always I keep it in my fingers. I'm so amazing about so many songs in this album, such as Canto de Osanha. Thanks.
Wow.
Thanks.
It's really hard.
Well, that was the one I recorded first, and I knew, I said, okay, I have to do an album, because this is a vibe, you know. I just really love that song, and I wanted to give a good tribute to it. And when I did that take, I listened back to it, and I said, oh man, this is cool. I think I need to do an album, but that was my standard, you know, that was like, okay, they all have to be good, you know. I think I knew that would be the first song right away, because I just think Baden-Powell, and also there's two versions I checked out, the Baden-Powell version, but then also the one that Vinicius Moraes that they used in City of God, you know, there's those two versions. I love both for different reasons, so I listened a lot to them, and I just tried to capture that feeling, you know.
When you talk about the new style, it remind me to the Autumn in New York that you play and you change everything from the other version.
I mean, kind of. It's that one is, to me, it's still like, if you know the lyric, the way I play it is pretty much like in the right feeling for the song. Sometimes I'll make some irony, like I'll do a version of a song like my Moonlight in Vermont thing that's it's not peaceful like the original, like purposely the opposite, you know. But Autumn in New York, I still think I didn't change so much, you know. It's still, you still feel those lyrics, you know what I mean?
But the vibe of this song is very different from other version. And
oh well, thank you.
And you know, so many Thai jazz guitar player, they love this version very much. I
mean, you know, it's if everyone asked me like, what's the song the ballad you want to be remembered for, I'd say that's the one that feels very close to my heart, you know. I usually go every 5 years. I don't play for a while, then I start playing again because I love coming back to that song because there's always new things to discover in it. It's an incredible standard, one of the greatest.
Okay, let's go back to the one album. Without the Shadow, it seemed like a Ingwe style. You know, it seems like a neoclassic style because you use delay.
Yeah. It's probably more inspired by Van Halen, by Cathedral or something.
Okay.
But that's the concept. Yeah, using the delay to create some different patterns. You know, it's called Without Shadow because it's based on the harmony of my song Shadowless. It's the same harmony as Shadowless. Yeah.
Okay, for the next Skylark and Tenderly, what's the guitar that you use for recording this album, and how did you record this? Because the sound very acoustic and very excellent.
Well, Tenderly is this guitar. Tenderly is this guitar, but I used a little more of the microphone.
Forget the acoustic sound.
Yeah, a little more strings. Yeah, I wanted it to sound tender. I wanted it to sound very, almost like you were sitting right next to the guitar, you know. So that one, and the album, you notice I get different tones on different songs, you know, and sometimes it's the same guitar, you know, it's just using different techniques. That one I used a lot more of the microphone, just because I wanted it to sound, like I said, very intimate, you know. I also did some subtle things with phasing on that one to create, if you have out of phase is not good. But if you have a little out of phase, it creates a three-dimensional feeling. You know, like you can, like if things are perfectly in phase, it sounds a little flat. If it's out of phase, it starts to cancel out, get strange. If you have a little out of phase, it actually can create a little more dimension, like you're hearing the room, you know what I mean? So I experimented with that on Tenderly. Skylark is a Collings guitar, and that's acoustic. Just, a big fat condenser and a small one, Yeah, just a traditional way to mic an acoustic guitar, but it's a great sounding guitar.
Very good, great sound.
Yeah.
Kalawan. Do you have the way to arrange the way you play in this song?
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Really crazy thing.
Yeah, we talked about that in the workshop a little bit. Again, that's polyrhythm stuff. You know, that's what I was messing around with playing with this kind of North African ding 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 ba do do dee do do 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 dun ding ding ding, messing around with the ear, you know, and that was hybrid.
But one thing is so really hard because it is really fast tempo.
Yeah, it's fast.
It's really hard to play because it's really fast tempo. Is maybe you can miss something.
Yeah, you have to keep the drums in your head when you play over that. That's the secret. So even though there's no drummer in my head, it's going to that's keeping me kind of in the groove, you know.
Okay.
There's a live version of that on YouTube somewhere of me playing that in Argentina like 10 years ago or something like that. I like that one too. That's even faster, and it's very cool to see. If you get a little nervous on that one, it actually makes you kind of play even better, because it's an intense feeling, that song, it's a lot about the feeling,
Okay, for the next is about your playing guitar. You always use the sequence when you play like a sequence.
Yeah, sure.
How did you get that idea?
I always loved that sound, I mean, I know that there's some people that don't like that sound, some people think, oh, it sounds like patterns or something, but my reaction was always like, yeah, it sounds like patterns. I like patterns. I mean, I grew up listening to Bach and classical music where they use sequences and things like that. I always liked it. Also probably there's some things from my rock like Eddie Van Halen and guys like that when I was a kid, I could hear that parallel between Coltrane, Alan Holdsworth. Alan Holdsworth was trying to sound like Coltrane. Eddie Van Halen was trying to sound like Alan Holdsworth. So it's like you could see as you get older, you start to see the connection, And yeah, quite honestly, I just think it's a nice sound. It creates a color and a feeling. You just don't want to misuse it. You need to make sure you hear them and they're just, even though they're fast and there's a lot of them, they're still melodies. You know what I mean? So that's my secret is I just try and stay connected to the sound of it. It doesn't become a finger pattern. If it becomes finger patterns, it's not good. That's what you don't want.
Okay. From all of your song. Which song that you want a jazz student or the beginner to learn and practice and analyze your song?
If I could pick one song, maybe Shadowless. Shadowless. That's one of my favorites as far as just everything flowed in the composition process, and I like the song itself. It's not easy. It's hard to play over though.
You are the great composer. Which song in this world that you think this is perfect songs, both of composition and technique?
When I listen to music?
Yeah.
You mean of other people's songs?
Yeah, other artist songs that, wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, every time I listen to Bach, I feel that.
Okay,
for sure. In jazz, it's probably usually more improvisation that makes you, think that those kind of things more than a specific composition. For me, technique is part of it, but of course when I hear classical musicians playing some like Bach piece or something, it's like it's amazing. But I mean, as far as just hearing certain recordings that I love, I mean, I put on Keith Jarrett and Coltrane and Holdsworth and Pat Metheny and these guys, and I'm always inspired. You know what I mean? There's things I can always put on. I know if I put that on, I'm gonna go. Metheny playing "Have You Heard?" You know what I mean? Holdsworth playing on the album "Sand," or Glenn Gould playing the Goldberg variations. Those are all gonna make me go practice.
Please give me the 3 names of jazz guitar book to practice for the beginner.
Oof, I don't know. That I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't think that one. I don't think that's a great one, but I think Explorations of Note, the online thing, which is a book. It's an expanding video book with PDFs, I mean, it's better than a book because it's, a book that talks to you, you know what I mean? I've had such great connections with the students there, and I've seen so many of them sounding so much better, because I found what I did was when I was going to school, I had great teachers, but I also, school programs in general, there was some things that were missing for me. And I always said, I don't like the way this taught. Why don't they teach this? Why did they skip this? This is a weird way to look at it. Now now I've been playing gigs for 20 years, and I know this is not the way that great musicians think of. So now with the way I'm teaching at Explorations of Note, it's trying to correct those things that I see now that were problems when I was studying,
Yeah.
So it's a new approach to a lot of things. Some things that are not new, that are just you need to have, and other things that are very different approaches to things, whether it's diminished chords or certain polyrhythms or harmonic major modes or whatever, how to learn a standard, solo guitar concepts. All this stuff is all there with a new perspective, and my students are sounding so much better in 1 year. Some of them, it's like they've gone to a whole nother level, and that's where I get more excited and I keep doing it, because it's working,
Okay, which album that you listen to and it changed your life forever?
Oof, so many. I mean, I can only do a list if I'm going to do that, you know.
Okay.
The more I think about it, a lot of times it's not albums anymore. It's songs.
Yeah, the songs.
Yeah, it's more like songs.
Yeah.
Because
Which song?
I love albums, but I'm also I think we have to let go of albums. I think albums have not, because people say, oh, with MP3s it's so horrible, it's the end of albums. But you know what? At some point I realized albums were only here for 40, 50 years. Before that we didn't have albums. When Charlie Parker was playing there was no albums. They used to do sides, you know.
Yeah.
Before that there was no recording. So, you know, but music was alive and great.
Okay.
So I think being so attached to albums is not necessarily a great idea, you know. But there's definitely songs. I mean, you know, if I had to pick like 5 songs, I could tell you, you know, Keith Jarrett has a song, Fort Yawa, you know. Alan Holdsworth, the 415 Bradford executive. Pat Metheny, Have You Heard? I could say...
Jonathan Kreisberg.
No, not me. No, I never listen to me to get inspired. You know, you listen to people that have qualities that you admire. Usually, you know. I mean, I like hearing recordings usually of myself, but because it makes me critical. It makes me decide. Okay, I can work on this. I can work on this. You know, it's about the work. But for inspiration, of course, we all have stuff we go to. You know, John Coltrane, 26-2, or you know, a lot of songs off Mike Brecker's first solo album. You know, I could say 7 Steps to Heaven, Miles, you know. Yeah, so many great ones.
Okay.
You'll be here for 2 hours if I keep going.
Okay, for the last one, why we have to learn jazz music?
You don't have to learn jazz music. Yeah, I mean, jazz is not for everybody, you know. That's, I think, one of the things that will probably never change, you know. I don't believe that jazz needs to be elitist, like, oh, it's only for us, you know. I think that we should try and reach many people when we play jazz, and everybody should try and experience what is so great about jazz. But I also think look at the people on the street and watch TV. There's some people that it's not for them. And that's okay. You'll drive yourself crazy if you think you have to convince them, you know what I mean? There's going to be people that would much rather just go watch a football game and hear a horrible song. That's always going to exist. We're looking for the freaks. We're looking for the people that know, they see the matrix. They know we're living in this place that's corporations trying to get you to love dumb music, you know, the videos, and they're trying to sell you dumb stuff. But we want the people that see that and they say, no, I need something else. And they go and they see a jazz show and they go, whoa, this is happening right now. This is live music they're creating. This is different than last night, different than tomorrow night, and definitely different than what I see on TV or I hear on the radio, you know. Those people will feel something, and we're always going to have those people. It's like we're like a revolution, you know what I mean? That's and they're everywhere in the world. They're here in Thailand, they're in Iceland, they're in America, they're everywhere, you know. I don't worry about that, you know. Those people will find us, you know. And we just have to keep doing what we do to bring them, you know, into the music, you know.
Okay, thank you so much. ขอบคุณมากเลยครับคุณโจนาธาน
ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, great to see you again. Yeah.
นี่นะครับก็คือบทสัมภาษณ์จากคุณโจนาธาน ไคลส์เบิร์กนะครับก็ถ้ายังไงนะครับกีตาร์ไทยต้องขอบพระคุณงาน TIJC นะครับในปีนี้นะครับที่ให้โอกาสเราได้สัมภาษณ์มือกีตาร์ชั้นยอดขนาดนี้นะครับถ้ายังไงเทปนี้ผมกับคุณโจนาธานขอลาไปก่อนนะครับแล้วพบกันใหม่ครั้งหน้านะครับเทปนี้กีตาร์ไทยลาไปแล้วครับสวัสดีครับ